This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House.
I'm Elvio Fernandes, founding member of the local band Uncle Plum and now a member of the band Daughtry. And I'm going to explain to you why the U.S. will not contend for a World Cup anytime soon.
And I'm John DiTullio. Sometimes bigger is not necessarily better.
And I'm Mike Catalana. Let him dance.
I'm Bill Pucko. What is plantar fasciitis? Join us this weekend on the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the mighty Genesee Brew House. I'm Bill Pucko, joined, as always, by John DiTullio, Fox 1280 Sports.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Bill. Really appreciate it.
It is our pleasure. Mike Catalana, co-hosting from 13 WHAM News.
Good to be back.
And Mike's basketball nemesis, right?
Nemesis.
And the resume, I'm going to try to keep this thing short, okay? Soccer Gates Chile, SUNY Geneseo, founding member of Uncle Plum, probably the best band in Rochester during their 14-year run.
You're very kind.
And now with Daughtry, and hands down the best-looking guy we've ever had on the panel.
It's not even
Elvio
close.
Fernandes.
Yeah, didn't you have Weeze here last week?
Well,
Yes, we have
Weeze.
Weeze. Yeah.
It's close second.
Thanks for having me.
Big soccer aficionado, what I want to start off with. You know, about 10 years ago, it wasn't all that cool to be a soccer fan. It seems like that's changed. Now it's okay.
It's becoming okay for sure. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the success of the women's team. Has brought on a lot of female fans, obviously, and male fans. And the MLS is starting to bring over some studs into the league, which is definitely helping the attendance of those games as well.
Yep.
You've got, Steven Gerrard from Liverpool, who else? Kaká from Brazil came over, and now there's talk that Beckham is going to put a team together in, I think, Miami. And Ronaldo has said that he plans on coming here at some point in his career. Wow. Wayne Rooney's probably going to come. With that, that's going to fill the seats.
There's a culture change involved here somehow, too, though, isn't there?
Yes. It's the culture is changing, but it needs to change even more, I think. And I think people are frustrated as, why can't we ever contend for a World Cup? Why are we not that good at soccer? I mean, we've had a national team since the late 1800s. We just cannot contend. And everybody says, well, it's because our best athletes don't play soccer. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if Russell Westbrook was dribbling down the wing and crossed it to Calvin Johnson?
Yeah.
That sounds good, but that doesn't necessarily work in soccer. I mean, if you look at the greatest soccer players of all time, Diego Maradona was 5'4".
Yeah.
Pele was 5'8".
Yeah.
Lionel Messi's 5'7". It's easy to think that would be the case, but I think our issues are not athletic because we have athletes on that team that are great. And I think in the last World Cup there was a stat where we covered the most ground of any team in the Cup. So we're athletic, we're just not technical.
You know what I think is interesting, and Elvio's talking about these guys coming over towards the end of their career and playing. And we've seen this before, right? Years ago, Canalia and Pele and those guys came over and played. But I think the difference was at that time, those guys came over and their audience was people who were from other countries who were here in the United States, and they would get to go see these guys play. I think there's a much bigger base of fans now who've been watching these guys in the Premier League and other leagues around the world, and now to get them to come over, as long as they come over and they can still play.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Beckham could still play, certainly when he came over. He wasn't maybe at the level that he was at the top. But I think that'll make a difference, too, because these guys, maybe not quite in their total prime, but they can still play.
That's the guys talking about the fact that, and in more than one, this last week alone, talk about being able to see the Premier League all the time.
Two things. When I started my show in 06, the playbook, if you ever a slow day in radio, rip soccer. You can't do that anymore.
Worked every time.
It worked every time. You would rip how they, penalty kicks, how games were decided.
That's the most archaic thing in sports history.
I think now there's more of an understanding of the game. And number two, the demographics of our country are beginning to change. Slowly.
That's a good point.
That's slowly. So soccer is only going to grow from this point on as our country continues to change through immigration. Soccer is going to explode. I don't know when, but it's going to explode at some point, even more so in this country.
I'd say within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right now, soccer outdraws the NHL and the NBA in attendance.
Yeah, and especially if the NFL keeps putting on a product like they've put on this year.
I'm with Mike.
Because I think as playing an enjoyment, watching the game for a multitude of reasons, it's bad right now. It's as bad as I think I've seen it. I'm not saying that totally translates. Now everybody's going to watch soccer. But I think it'll help a little bit.
It didn't hurt locally either that the Rochester Rhinos won another championship. This is the original Rochester Press Box presented by the mighty Genesee Brew House. We're talking football when we return. For over 25 years, Hillside Work Scholarship Connection has empowered youth to embrace their dreams of college and careers. Thanks to a dedicated staff and employment partners, every year Hillside helps more than 4,000 young men and women move closer to their life goals. The Buffalo Bills Quote of the Week was brought to you by the Rochester Geico Office. Give the Rochester Geico team a chance to see how much you could save on all your insurance needs. Call or stop by the office on West Henrietta Road, open Monday through Saturday. So our quote of the week, Rex on his brother Rob and the possibilities. Everyone's talking about him coming here.
He'll be on the sidelines probably Monday night against New England. Now, they did coach together, in Arizona for a couple of years with Buddy. So this wouldn't be the first time they'd be on the sidelines. But I think take it to the bank. He'll be on the payroll soon.
No kidding. Our quote of the week brought to you by Geico Rochester. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box presented by the mighty Genesee Brew House is brought to you by the Hillside family of agencies. Football, Monday night. Bills getting 7 against New England, at New England.
One thing I think a lot of people have lost track of is the fact that Jets game, they were that close to totally imploding and having one of the worst losses in a series of bad losses in franchise history. They did a lot of things right. They did a lot of things terribly. They were imploding in the second half of that game, and they survived. Now, you take that win, you move on. They got the wins against Miami and the Jets, and all that is great. They are going up another step. And I'm glad to hear Rex say the first game wasn't close. I got more arguments with fans who told me it was only an 8-point game and they made a comeback. They got manhandled in that first game. New England's not the same team now with the ability to just bury you like I think they had with Lewis and Edelman. But they still have Brady. They still have Belichick. And they're not going to take a day off against the Bills.
The Bills are healthy, though.
Yeah, that's
relatively.
good.
Better than New England, at least in that regard.
Yeah. Brady's playing, right?
Yeah.
Brady's playing in the game, right?
Yeah, last time I checked.
Now, I would love to be able
not.
to pick the Bills, but I did pick them last year in the last game in Foxborough because Brady didn't play. But I've seen so many of them. I think they hang in there. I'm going to take them with the points, but I think it's a close game. But I cannot take the Bills in a close game with New England. I'm going to take the Patriots to win it by a few points. So I'll take the Bills and the points, but I think New England wins.
13-5 against the spread. Bang.
First
John, what do you
place.
got?
I'm 9-9. I don't know if you knew that.
I knew that. What do you got?
To piggyback what Mike said, I like the Bills coming off an emotional win like that over the Jets. I'm anxious to see what it does for a team. To win a game like that, even though it was ugly, can galvanize a team. They're getting healthy. The Patriots aren't the same without Edelman. 11 catches, again, the first time they played the Bills. And Dion Lewis is a big part, too, that they're going to be missing. I don't think the Bills are going to win. They don't necessarily need this game. Had they lost to the Jets, it would have been a must-win. I think they go out there and play loose. They keep it close. Their defensive line, if you watch the Giants game, really flustered Brady, even though Kyle Williams won't play. I think this game is low scoring. I think it's close, but I'll take the Patriots to win it in the end. In the end, Brady just makes too many plays. But I'm anxious to see the Bills. They're getting healthy, and they've got a couple of wins now under their belt. They're starting to gain traction right now. I'm anxious to see how they play Monday night.
Points taken or give?
I will. Listen, I'm taking the points. I want the Bills. I think the Bills lose this game. I think it'll be close, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 to, say, 20.
All right, Elvio Fernandes, who is going to be in the Macy's Day Parade with Daughtry. You want to get that in? So we have another reason to celebrate on Thanksgiving.
Just when I thought I had my mind made up, I got these two studs. They know what they're talking about. Now I'm swaying now. I'm swaying. It's hard for me to pick against the Patriots in New England because they're just they're annoying. They win.
So Bills +7. Where do you like to fall on that?
I think, just like these guys, I think it's going to be a close game, but I think New England wins.
Oh, we can't all be on the same page.
All right, New England wins by 10. How's that?
I didn't mean to make you change it now. This is
Well, that's what he came in with that. I think we were
did.
Go
convinced.
with your gut.
You forced him to change
I
it.
did kind of.
I'm going to take New England with the points.
Give me a secondary game quickly.
Secondary game quickly. I'm going against all, rules right now, but I'm going to bet against my team. I think Dallas goes into Miami and beats them.
Wow, Mike?
I'm going to take San Diego and the points against Kansas City. Kansas City's played really well lately. San Diego's been in every game, but I don't think they've quit yet. And their quarterback is just such a pain, I will say. But he still wants to win. I don't think that team has quit on him yet. They're at home getting points. I'm going to take the Chargers.
All right, I'm going to take the Bills with the points, which is bad news for you guys because I'm doing horribly. I also like Arizona, which is my Super Bowl pick, giving points to Cincinnati.
That's what I was going to take. I was going to take Carson Palmer. I may have to change now. I like Carson Palmer circling this game. I'll take the Bears at home. I was going to go with your game. I'm going to take Chicago at home against the Broncos.
Oh, okay. I
He's
thought
on
that
the
was the Green Bay
Bears
game.
bandwagon.
Listen, I kind of am. Cutler threw a pick a couple Monday nights ago
weird.
against San Diego, a pick six, and from that point
He's
on,
been playing bad.
I'd almost like woke that team up. He has had a decent year, Jay Cutler, when he's been on the field. They've moved the football. Now they're starting to play some defense, which makes them kind of dangerous a little bit in the NFC North.
All right. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box has been brought to you by the Hillside family of agencies. Thank you, guys. Classy Wolf Media, the parent company of the original Rochester Press Box, will be making a $1,000 donation to the Hillside family of agencies in the name of our top picker. And right now, that is Mike Catalana. This week's Hillside family of agencies picks are being made by Stephanie Burke, the program manager at the Hillside Children's Center, and the kids at Glow Family Support Services. They pick Buffalo with the points beating New England, and their second NFL game going head-to-head against me, taking Cincinnati, defeating Arizona on the road. We'll be back with Like It or Not in just a moment. As we go to break, it is time for the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Is called Turnbull at 343-2005. As we come back from the break, time for the answer to the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Just call 343-2005. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the mighty Genesee Brew House, and this portion of the Press Box brought to you by Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Like it or not, John, Peyton Manning's immediate future.
Well, the end is near, right? And we've seen this before. We've seen it with Favre at the end of his career. You've seen it with, even though Elway went out on top, you could see his skills had diminished, right? You've seen it with O.J. Simpson, all the great players. We saw it with Joe Montana in Kansas City. His time is up. I can't imagine he's back after this season. I really don't. But you sit him for a few weeks, maybe a month, and get him healthy, get him ready for what would be a final Super Bowl run for that team.
Plantar fasciitis. You have some experience with this.
I've had it twice in my life, playing soccer and basketball. Actually, the last bout I had was at Midtown. that's a pretty debilitating injury.
Yeah.
Sitting him a couple weeks doesn't fix that. I mean, you have to wear custom orthotics for months and months and all your shoes, and then it slowly comes back. But it's one of those things where I vividly remember playing basketball, and I went to cut, and it was like somebody shot me. Yeah. And I went down. You can't, and if he can't push off, that probably explains why some of those throws were just atrocious.
I blame the Chargers for playing him last week. I think it was a big mistake. And look at the circumstances around him setting this record.
Yeah,
goes to Indiana, or the Broncos, goes to Indiana and loses that awful game. Yeah. But he was, 4 yards short? So he loses that game. He comes out, throws that pass to start, sets the record, and then has the worst game of his career. It was brutal. But I think he comes back this year. I think he still has a moment or two. I think that defense is still enough to carry him. Don't count him out yet for this year, but after this year, I think he's
right. If Osweiler gets him to the playoffs and plays well at the end of the season and Manning comes back, you've got to give it back to him, right?
Manning
will
play.
He'll be the guy. Yeah. Could be Buffalo. Bills get that 6th seed. Could be in Denver.
Wouldn't that be fun?
For the wild card weekend. How would that be? They end Manning's career.
Michael, like it or not, the CFP rankings, the college football playoffs.
I think some of it is done just to increase a little attention for it, keeping Notre Dame there. Just there's certain things that are done. I guess it keeps the conversation going. The one thing is for the most part, like we said, when it first came out, like Ohio State a year ago was 16th when it started, and they kept winning and winning and winning. I do think it's the winning will continue. I know people like the conversation because they think it helps, but I think it's just one step towards having 8 teams in the future.
Eventually. I mean, that's all it is hype right now, and you got to see how it plays out. It's going to be a tough sell for Oklahoma if Notre Dame keeps winning. Notre Dame crushed Texas. You lost to Texas. You can't justify Oklahoma jumping Texas in the playoff rankings. But we still got, 2 weeks to go plus championship week. So each team's got 3 games to go. Long way to go yet.
Isn't it great, though, that this helps produce a legitimate champion?
Yeah.
Didn't football need this?
Absolutely. There was always so much gray area with college football. Now it makes a little more sense to people who don't follow it as much like me. So
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished business is next. The Rochester Press Box Stat of the Week, brought to you by Cariglio's Pizza, with 5 locations serving the Rochester area. Visit carigliospizza.com today. Introducing Dunkin's new sweet black pepper bacon sandwich with double the slices of caramelized crispy pepper bacon. It is the bacon experience you've been waiting for. Bacon up! America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the mighty Genesee Brew House. This portion of the Press Box brought to you by our friends at Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. John.
All right, Bill. Earlier in the show, Mike had mentioned the NFL is unwatchable, and it really is. Not necessarily the play on the field, but what's going on with all the flags, the abundance amount of flags being called. And I even heard the officials talking this week that the rule book has grown and it's less black and white and more ambiguous now. I still don't know what a catch is. If you're asking me, Odell Beckham scored for the Giants on Sunday versus New England. And another thing that's bothered me, if you watch that game, get the clock right. They can't even figure out the clock, when to start, when to stop. And to me, the NFL it's gotten to a point where it's unwatchable, it's choppy. You have officials complaining. They don't even know the rules. You would think the officials would know the rule. The game has grown. I get it. The rule book has grown, but sometimes bigger is not always better.
Remember when Sal Mayrana comes on and joins us? What's the thing he always says? He says, you got to take that rule book, chuck it, and start from scratch.
They got to completely, I think, gut it and start all over again. I don't know what a catch is anymore.
I talk to fans who say, I'm watching a game, and I just, as soon as there's a play, I look up in the corner and wait to see the word flag come up there. Because it's just gotten to the point you just almost assume there's a flag.
They stopped the Giants game again to go, can the clock be reset? It's stop and go, stop and go. It's tough to watch.
Elvio, what do you got for us?
I'm going back to soccer because that's what I know best.
Nice.
So, speaking of Odell Beckham Jr., a lot of people don't know that Odell Beckham Jr. was a prospect for the U.S. men's national soccer team.
Did not know that.
He played soccer until he was, I think, 14 years old.
Nuggets.
And he was a stud. But He chose to go make some money and play football. So, a lot of people are talking about how our best athletes don't play soccer, and you got to be big, fast, and strong, and lift more weights, and do all these things to excel. In that sport, it doesn't necessarily work. If you look at the best players in the world, they could be jockeys. They're all 5'4", 5'5". Barcelona dominated the soccer world for the 21st century, and they've been playing together since they were kids. That's where it needs to start here in the United States. The youth system has to be available to everybody, whether you got money or not. Right now, you got to pay to play, and I got 2 kids playing soccer, and it's $4,000 a year.
Yowza.
In other countries, a kid's a stud. Manchester United picks him up. He's in the youth system. They groom him to be soccer players. That's the difference. It has nothing to do with our athleticism. It's our technical ability that needs to improve.
It's cool. Now's the time, man. We've got momentum in the sport. That's good.
Yeah.
Yep. Monday night, the Bills are going to see the guy who's the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Of course, that's Tom Brady. Second in that list is Cam Newton. And Cam has caused all this controversy because he likes to dance. Look, I'm a little more old school about this, and I would rather see guys be more humble. And I know it fits the narrative of a quarterback to be a little more low-key. But can we stop all the hand-wringing over the fact that the guy likes to dance? Look, I'm not a huge Cam Newton fan, but there's something about him I like. He plays hard, he plays tough, and he's leading his team. So he dances, in my opinion, maybe a bit much. Maybe it's bugging the other team a little bit. But I also see him take the football and go up and give it to a kid in the stands. I also see him do a lot of things off the field to help in the community. I think he's fun. I think the NFL, to John's point, could use a little more fun in the league. Maybe he dances too much, but he's doing it after he scores touchdowns. And depending on what happens with Brady, he might be your league MVP.
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Johnny, thank you very much.
Thought the show was outstanding. Elvio raised it. Raised the level of the show today, buddy.
Please.
As one of the great athletes from
the most
Gage Tyler
anxiety
High
I've
School.
had.
No matter
in a
what
long
he's
time.
done in his career, all of these performances, I think this ranks number one.
And speaking of, I've seen you do some game-winning jumper shots, dances at Midtown.
Yeah, it's
Hit
pretty
the game-winning
good. We
shot.
need to see that.
I've seen it.
Elvio, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming
you
on.
for having
We'll do
me.
this again,
Appreciate it.
okay?
Thanks.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. The original Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House.